I have a thing for dishes that take over other countries. I mean the countries that didn't invent them. That means that the dish is beloved for what it is and not for some sentimental reasons. Today we're making such a dish, gyoza, which is Chinese pot stickers by way of Japan. What's the difference between gyoza and pot stickers? I'm not an expert on Asian cuisine, so take what I say with a grain of salt. But the most noticeable difference to me is the thickness of the dough. Japanese dough is a bit thinner. I'm sure the authenticity police will chime in with a whole bunch of other differences in the comments. But who really cares? As long as the dough is crispy and the filling is juicy. Okay, let's make the filling. We'll need 2 scallions, coarsely chopped, 1 garlic clove, coarsely chopped, ½ inch of ginger, thinly sliced, 100 grams of napa cabbage. You can also use bok choy or regular cabbage that people call white or green. Dump all these veggies into a food processor. Add 1/3 cup of cold water, 1 teaspoon sesame oil, 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, and 2 tablespoons of cold butter cut into roughly 4 pieces. I can hear a lot of screaming in the comments about the authenticity already. But here is the deal. It would be extremely unusual for you to find ground pork in a normal American supermarket that is fatty enough to make good dumplings. The higher the fat content, the softer and juicier the filling. So I just do whatever it takes. Buzz everything together, scraping down the walls several times until you get a very fine grind, but not a smooth paste. It should look something like this. Dump it into a large bowl. Add 2 teaspoons of Diamond Crystal Kosher salt or 1 teaspoon of table salt. For all other salts, including Morton's Kosher, go with 1 teaspoon for now. A few grinds of black pepper. Add 1 pound of ground pork and mush it all together until the mixture is completely homogeneous. You can't overmix it, so be thorough. Ideally, my pork would be ground finer, but all I could find in the store on the day I was filming was sausage grind, which is quite coarse. It all worked out, but I prefer a finer grind. Basically the normal grind you'd find in a supermarket if you are using something other than Diamond Crystal Kosher salt. You should probably taste this mixture for salt, since I have no idea how much salt you should be using. To do that safely, cook about a teaspoon of the filling in the microwave for about 10 seconds or so, just until it's firm. Let it cool a bit and taste it. The texture will be awful because it's from a microwave, but it will give you an idea of the salt level so you can adjust as needed. And we are ready to shape. Line a baking sheet with parchment foil. No need to sprinkle it with flour because gyoza wrappers are very thoroughly coated in cornstarch. Finding the right dough to use will be the hardest part of this dish. The store where I usually shop, Russo's in Watertown, Massachusetts, normally carries gyoza wrappers, which is very lucky for me. Normal stores in my area do not carry them. The easiest place to find them is a large Asian market like the Korean chain H-Mart. I have a ton of small Asian stores in my area, but none of them are Japanese. These stores carry what they call dumpling wrappers, but not gyoza wrappers. Some regular supermarkets carry dumpling wrappers too. If you are in the northeast of the US, Wegmans is your best bet. Today we are using dumpling wrappers. Sure, they are a tad thicker than gyoza, but they work just fine. And I wanted to make sure that the recipe works with the dough that is as accessible as possible. If the dough is not easy to find in your area, find the one you like. Then buy a ton of it to keep in your freezer. It will last for a year. Just remember to move it to the fridge the day before using. As soon as you open the package, wrap it in a damp paper towel to prevent the dough from drying out. Lay out 2 to 3 circles on a work surface. I suggest you start with 2 because they dry out very quickly. Remember to cover the remaining wrappers. Place about a tablespoon of filling in the middle. Run a damp finger around the perimeter. Connect the dough edges together. Wet your index finger and put it inside the dumpling. Then make folds in the side that's facing you. All the folds should be pointing towards the middle of the dumpling. And you want 2 to 3 folds per side. When I am folding the left side, I use my left index finger. When I am folding the right side, I use my right index finger. Go through all the edges and seal them very firmly. Holes in dumplings are unacceptable. Here's what they look like from the front. I have watched many people make these in my classes, and I've noticed 5 common mistakes. Folding both sides. Don't do that. The back of the dumpling should stay flat. Only one side should be folded. That's what makes the dumplings stand up in the skillet when you're frying them. This is not pierogies that lie flat. For me, it's a lot easier to fold the side that's closest to me. Tiny little folds towards the middle. Don't forget to keep your finger inside until you finish the last fold. Otherwise, the wrapper will close and forget the folds. Not sealing the dumplings well enough. This is a big one. If they open up at all, the juice will leak out. So forget juicy dumplings and be prepared for terrible splatter in the skillet. After I make all the folds, I go through all the edges again, pinching them extremely hard. You want the 2 layers of dough on the edges to become as thin as 1 layer of dough, not using enough filling. A half-full dumpling is a sad dumpling. It will feel like a deflated balloon. Experiment until you figure out how much filling you can fit in and still seal the dumpling. Working on a damp area. After you shape a couple of pieces, your work surface might be damp from the water you use to brush the edges. This will make the wrapper stick. So make sure you wipe the work surface before placing more wrappers on it. And the last but not least mistake is judging your shaping ability after the first couple of dumplings. Yes, it takes a bit of practice. Everyone is bad at it until they are on their 10th or 20th dumpling. So work through that whole pack and then we'll talk. You can cook your dumplings immediately or put them in the fridge for an hour. You can also freeze them for future use. To do that, place the baking sheet with dumplings in the freezer just until they are hard, about 2 hours. Then move them to a freezer bag. Don't forget to move them to a bag or they'll dehydrate and crack. Cook them right from this frozen state. Don't defrost. Before we cook our dumplings, let's make a dipping sauce for them. I like to use some lime juice or anything else that's acidic like lemon juice or rice wine vinegar. Let's add about a tablespoon. A bit of ginger grated on a microplane zester. Tilt it back and forth to avoid getting the grater clogged with the little fibers. I probably have about 2 teaspoons of ginger here. And about 1.5 tablespoons of soy sauce. I'm using tamari style soy sauce, but any soy sauce would work. Let's set a non-stick skillet over medium heat. Add some neutral oil like canola, just enough to cover the bottom of the pan, about 1 tablespoon. When the oil is hot and starts to shimmer, place the dumplings in the skillet. You can cook as many as fit in a single layer, but I'm only cooking 1 portion for now, so I don't need quite as much oil. Cook until they brown. This will only take a minute or 2. Have a lid ready. Pour some water into the skillet and immediately put the lid on. How much water to use? That's a tricky question. Although most recipes specify some amount, like half a cup or 1/3 of a cup, it really depends on your skillet size and shape and on how tightly the lid fits. It has nothing to do with how many dumplings you're cooking. If I filled my skillet up with dumplings, instead of cooking 1 portion, I would not use more water. The goal is to create a layer of water that is about 1 millimeter thin, roughly. After 3 minutes, most of the water should be gone. You can always add another splash of water, but you can't take it out. So I prefer to be conservative with how much I add. For a 10-inch skillet, it's about 1/3 of a cup. For a 12-inch skillet, it's about 1/2 cup. Cook the dumplings covered for 3 minutes for fresh, 6 minutes for frozen. No, you don't necessarily need more water for the frozen ones because they are much colder. The water doesn't evaporate as quickly. At this point, the dumplings are cooked and we just need to re-crisp them. Open the lid to evaporate the remaining water and cook until the bottom is crispy again. About a minute. These are looking good. Then remove them to a plate, crispy side up, so that the juices from the meat don't make it soggy. Let's do Chef John's crispness test. Sounds good. Once the first batch is out, you can cook more dumplings in the same pan. By the way, as you get better at judging just how much water you need, you might not need to uncover them in the end, which will reduce the amount of splatter and cleanup you'll have to do. Pour the sauce into little dishes, add a few drops of sesame oil, and enjoy. Though, you know what? Wait at least 5 minutes after you get them out of the skillet so that you don't burn your mouth. There is only one right way to eat them. Put the whole dumpling in your mouth and let all the juice explode. I'll rip one to show you how juicy it is. Sorry about that little guy. Just think, with a little bit of work, all the juice could be in your mouth. By the way, I never, ever serve this as an appetizer. I cook about 10 per person and serve them as the main dish. All you need is a little salad, and that's a meal. If you need salad ideas, how about the cabbage salad from last week's video? Here are more thought-provoking culinary videos for you to check out, and if you are ever in the Boston area, maybe I'll see you in one of my classes.